Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Aging. My name is Gwyneth Johnson. I'm the CEO of Second Wind Dreams. We are an organization dedicated to changing the perception of aging. And through this video series, we want to highlight other organizations and individuals who are working to change that very same perception. Today, we are lucky enough to have with us Matt Pieper of Open Hand. And Open Hand is a community-driven not-for-profit that provides nutritious and medically appropriate meals to people living with chronic disease and disability. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, Gwyneth. Great to be here. Looking forward to this conversation.
I am as well. We're so happy to have you. And you know, I'm a big fan of your organization, but also of you.
Uh, Thank you for saying that. Right back at you.
Thank you. Well, let's dive right in. Can you tell us about Open Hand and about your mission?
I'd love to talk about Open Hand. So, gosh, we are celebrating our 33rd year in service. So we've been around for a while. Um, and we started out exclusively as an organization 33 years ago that was serving people who were frankly dying of HIV and AIDS. And it was really about trying to help people die with dignity and to let them know that they are cared about. During a time when there was such stigma around HIV that many of our clients were ostracized and were living very isolated lives. And we did this exclusively as volunteers back in those early days. I don't think we had any paid staff until a couple of years being established. Well, fast forward to about, 25 years ago, and leadership at the Atlanta Regional Commission came and talked to my predecessor at Open Hand and said, hey, we really like your mission. We like what you all do. Would you consider helping older adults who are in need of healthier nutrition options? This was at a time when diabetes was really becoming on the national radar as a crisis, as a true crisis. And and I give so much credit to my predecessor, Stephen Woods. He said, yes, we will take on this wonderful challenge and we'll gladly do this. We'll expand our mission beyond just serving people with HIV, but begin to serve older adults as well. But we're not going to do it in the traditional way. We're really going to look at the quality of meals and the ingredients that are used. And we're not going to accept grade C chicken or grade C beef. We're going to make everything first grade A quality. And then we're going to look at the nutritional standards. We're going to understand that if we really want to help people live their best quality of life, that we need to look at what they're eating. And so we really jumped into the food as medicine movement. And it's one of the things I'm most proud of our organization for leading that conversation or being part of that conversation across the country, really, to help people view food not just as a means to cure hunger pains, but to view food as actually a medical intervention, the right kind of food. And that's what led us to revamp all of our menus 25 years ago. And this is an ongoing process. And we said, no longer will we serve any food unless it meets or exceeds nutritional standards set by the American Diabetes Association, set by the American Heart Association, set by the USDA, just as a couple of the, standards that we wanted to make sure that we were either meeting or exceeding. And I'm proud to say that we continue to do that today. So really high quality food. In fact, we don't serve processed food here. Most of the food that we provide is made from scratch. We don't use canned goods because canned goods have too much sodium, and sodium is not good for us, as we all know, right? Our chefs make our tomato sauce from real tomatoes, and then they season it appropriately with herbs. So it tastes delicious, but it doesn't have that sodium that if we used a canned item would. And the canned item would be cheaper, frankly, there's no doubt about that. And in fact, what we do here at Open Hand Atlanta costs more than what most community-based nutrition agencies spend on food. But I make this case all the time for funders and for policy leaders that if we'll spend a little bit more on the right kind of nutrition that we provide older adults and anyone who is facing or at risk of a chronic disease, if we'll spend a little bit more in the short run, in the long run, we're going to save taxpayers so much money because we're going to keep people out of hospitals and we're going to lower hospital readmission rates. And we're going to allow older adults to live at home for longer if they want to live at home, right? And most do. And so our services are really about empowering people to take charge of their health through the right kind of nutrition. And one more thing, Gwyneth, it's not just the meals that are core to our way of our approach, but it's also the education that we provide. So we employ a team of registered dietitians who travel out into senior centers or they travel out to people's homes or community centers. And they're really passionate about healthy eating habits. And they're fun and they have very interactive ways to teach people about the connection between really good food and positive health outcomes. I think it's when someone is diagnosed with an illness, a chronic disease, whether that be cancer or heart disease or diabetes, or their doctor says you're at risk for one of these chronic health conditions, it can be very intimidating because you're often told you're going to need to change your whole diet. And people have tried to change their diets many, many times, myself included, and have failed at first, right? What we try to do at Open Hand, our registered dietitians, is really help our clients understand we're not going to let you fail. We're going to be there to provide you with the support and the coaching and the encouragement that we feel you need in order to live your best life. Um, and that's so important. It's not enough just to put great food in front of folks. People need to understand why it is that this particular type of meal is appropriate for the health condition that you're either at risk for or that you are battling. This is certainly true of many of the older adults that we serve. And in fact, older adults are the largest segment of our client base, proudly so. We also serve adults of all ages, actually, who are at risk or battling chronic disease. So that's a little bit about what Open Hand is about. We like to think of ourselves as rebels in the food is medicine movement, for sure.
That's fantastic. And I applaud you that the idea of empowering individuals. And really, when you say you serve everybody, you do, but everybody's aging.
Yeah,
And so you are preparing us for a healthier aging population in the future as well.
you bet. You bet. I really appreciate that perspective. Even in the 12 years that I've been at Open Hand, I can see trends changing as baby boomers transition into becoming uh, part of the senior population, right?
Mhm.
And I think that the interest of older adults, I hear, and many of our clients tell us, their interests are changing.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, what we've tried to do here at Open Hand, and I'm proud of to work with so many community-based partners who are serving older adults who are really have caught on to this as well, that there's many older adults who are incredibly active and who want to be as independent as possible and have very varied interest. And the stereotype of an older adult who just wants to string beads, not that there's anything wrong with stringing beads, but I think that people's uh, interest have changed and are much more varied than perhaps we have given credit for those of us who are serving older adults. And so something I try to keep in the back of my mind.
That's my mantra. Simply because we put the word older before adult
Right,
doesn't change the fact that this is an adult.
right, right.
And at 55, I have all kinds of interests I didn't have when I was younger. And I
Yeah,
hope I have even more when I'm 85.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll deliver meals sometimes to some of the senior towers around town, and I can see it firsthand. The seniors these days, they want to still date, right? They want to socialize. They have a pecking order. I remember walking in to one senior tower, and there was a group of the residents there, wonderful folks who were all playing billiards, right, um, around the table and drinking a glass of wine and having a great time. And they were dressed up because I could tell it was date night, right? And it was just wonderful. It so debunks the stereotype of how sometimes older adults are pigeonholed, right? Um, and I remember that uh, distinctly too when it comes to the kind of meals that we serve too. One of the things that's really important to us is providing our clients who are older with a lot of choice. I think that one of the disservices that the Meals on Wheels sector has done in the past, I think this is changing greatly, and I'm really proud of my partners in the Meals on Wheels sector, but is that we thought, well, seniors will be okay with whatever meal we put in front of them. And if by chance that meal is being supplemented with charitable dollars or with government funds, then frankly, the seniors that we're serving should be okay with that. Well, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that at all, and nobody here at Open Hand is okay with that. Um, you know, as we age, as we all age, sometimes we are limited in the things that we can do. Some things that we used to be able to do, we no longer can do. Um, but choosing what kind of meal you want to eat shouldn't be one of those things that's taken away from you, no matter what your age is. And if you don't like one kind of meal, you should have another option to choose from. Um, and that's one of the things we've worked really hard at Open Hand, because to me, that's about respect and it's about dignity. And that's important. I want everybody, all of our clients to feel valued, to feel respected, and for us to meet them where they need to be met in order to provide a better quality of life. And I know that meal choice is important to me in my life, right? Um, and so providing ample amounts of choice, when someone comes into our client base, they actually have the ability to customize their meals and still fit the nutritional standards that we strive to deliver on in order to help our clients achieve the best health possible.
that's amazing. How did you find yourself in the service of seniors?
Yeah. You know, um, prior to being at Open Hand, well, first of all, I used to volunteer at what was then called Project Open Hand, before we changed our name to Open Hand. And those were back in the days when Open Hand was still just serving people with HIV and AIDS, and I was an active AIDS volunteer. Um, and that really piqued my interest in health. And so later on in my career, I went to work for a couple of different health organizations. I worked at the AIDS Research Consortium of Atlanta, which did clinical drug trials and an epidemiological study. And that opened my eyes to the healthcare world, from everything from government funding through the NIH to local funding, within our healthcare system. uh, I eventually became an executive director of an organization, a not-for-profit, that's ran retreat programs for families who were facing a chronic illness. If they had a family member facing a chronic disease, MS, could be cancer, could be heart disease. Um, and that piqued my interest even more. And many of those individuals who attended those retreat weekends were older adults. Whether they might have been a grandparent within the family, they might have been an older parent. Um, and I I discovered that I really was learning an appreciation for how valuable older adults are in our world. in terms of being one of the most valuable resources. Even though I don't believe in our country, we always remember that. I think sometimes there is systemic prejudice, I think, against older adults. Society has not treated older adults very well in the media, um, and that's just one area. I think that we need some improvement in terms of changing the image of someone who is aging. And it became an interest of mine. Um, Eventually, I went to work for the National MS Society. There, I also worked with older adults who were struggling with MS. Um, and from there, I went to work for Project Open Hand. And, um, and of course, as I've shared before, older adults are the largest segment of whom we serve. I will also say this too, Gwyneth, I was raised by parents who were older by the time I came along. So I have 11 brothers and sisters, and I'm number 11 out of 12, right?
Wow.
So by the time my parents had me, they were getting on in years. And but they, you know, maybe they didn't have a choice but just to stay active and thrive because they were still trying to raise us. But I will say that they instilled in all of my siblings really strong values and a strong value system. And that included respect of everybody, including people who are aging. And so I think that just from a personal perspective, that has helped me to be a value-based, values-driven CEO, or at least strive to be one.
That's wonderful. Do you have any events or resources coming up that you'd like to share with our viewers?
You know, we do a leadership breakfast every year where we try to focus on a societal challenge, and this is going to take place in early November. And anybody can go on our website www.openhandatlanta.org, and learn about it. This year we will be focusing on health, providing health access to healthy food, but also access to anything that has to do with health in rural areas. That's been an increasing part of our service delivery at Open Hand, is serving people in the rural areas, including many older adults. And access to healthy food, access to information about about wellness, is in short supply in rural areas. And so we want to shine a spotlight on this and brainstorm about solutions on how to create greater access. Not everybody can afford to live in the urban areas where access sometimes is more, more at hand. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we'd love to have people join us for that, and also encourage anybody who knows somebody who potentially could qualify for either a Medicaid waiver program, or qualify for meals through the Older Americans Act program. We would we love to we would love to be your nutrition provider. We take great pride in what we do here at Open Hand and want to make sure that people who need our services receive our services. And so they can use that same website, openhandatlanta.org, and find out how they can enroll either a loved one into our program or register themselves.
Excellent. Well, I have one more question for you today. How do you change the perception of aging?
Yeah. Um, um, I'm really glad you are asking that question. And I will say it's not easy. But the way that I have taken on sort of as a personal mission is to model good behavior. And so the kinds of things that I think sometimes cause people to have a negative view of people who are aging, I don't want to be one of those individuals who's guilty of that. I don't want to buy into stereotypes or repeat stereotypes about folks who are aging, which is all of us, right? And so I try and model good behavior. If people, I believe most people who say what I'm about to say it with the best intentions, but they may not realize it can actually sometimes be hurtful. But when people aren't willing to admit that they're aging, right? Or when people won't tell you what your age is, they'll say, "Oh no, I would never do that," because I don't want people to think I'm older, right? And um, that's too bad. And so when people ask me my age, by the way, I just tell them right away, "Wait, I'm aging. I'm proud of it. Aging, everybody's doing it, right?" So
Select ones anyway.
to try and model, I think, good behavior, and not make sure I don't buy into the stereotypes. I don't say to my friends, even if it was meant in the best intention, "Man, you're looking so young these days," because
Yeah,
looking so young is not the best thing in the world. There's a lot of beautiful people who are aging right now, and so inside and out.
absolutely. Well, it has been my pleasure to talk with you today, and I look forward to seeing you very soon, I hope.
Well, thank you very much, Gwyneth. Honored to be here and appreciative for the opportunity. And thanks for all the great work that you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us on Let's Talk Aging. As you have time, please visit our website, www.secondwind.org. We have some programs you might be interested in. Specifically, have a look at dementia interpreters and the Dementia Dictionary. The dictionary is a resource for anyone who's trying to find out about living with dementia and working through some of the daily issues that arise. It is crowdsourced through our dementia interpreters, and it comes to us in partnership with our friends in the UK at Training to Care. Thank you so much and have a great day.